All right, so Leibniz, huh? This is one of those deep dives where, we're talking about a mind that really wrestled with some big, big stuff.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Math, philosophy,
Yeah.
ideas that feel surprisingly close to home when we're thinking about AI today.
Definitely. And, we're talking 17th century here.
Right.
Leibniz wasn't exactly surrounded by silicon and algorithms. He was grappling with these concepts way back, right at the dawn of the Enlightenment.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so interesting. I mean, we're talking about a guy who might just be echoing in every line of code that's written today. But for our listeners who might not have Leibniz's greatest hits memorized,
Right.
who are we talking about here? Give us the highlight reel.
So born in 1646, Leibniz was what we call a true polymath. Mathematics, philosophy, law, physics even. I mean, his curiosity really knew no bounds. He even got into it with Isaac Newton, actually.
Oh, yeah.
They tickled over who invented calculus.
Of course, the classic rivalry.
Yeah, yeah. A story maybe for another deep dive.
Another day, another deep dive. But speaking of calculus, that has got to be one of the clearest links to the world of AI, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, while Leibniz might not have been picturing self-driving cars or anything, the very essence of calculus,
Right.
that ability to model change, dynamic systems, that's fundamental to how AI learns, right?
It is.
Think about how AI predicts stock prices, constantly adjusting to new data. It's calculus. That's the engine under the hood.
It's like the mathematical bedrock, really. So much of it seems to be built upon that.
Precisely. But the thing is, Leibniz wasn't content just providing the tools, right?
Right.
He went deeper. This guy was thinking about the nature of thought itself. And that led him to something he called the calculus ratiocinator.
Okay, now that is a name. That sounds like it's straight out of a science fiction novel.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Okay, so picture this. A system where any thought, anything, no matter how complex, you could break it down to its symbolic components.
Yeah.
And then you manipulate those symbols logically, almost like you do in an equation, to create new knowledge.
So instead of just manipulating numbers like we do in traditional calculus, he's talking about manipulating thoughts and ideas. That's pretty radical for the 1600s, right?
Revolutionary.
Hmm.
And what's amazing is it foreshadows how we use code in computers. Leibniz has his symbols, we have binary code, but it's the same idea at play. Taking thought, formalizing it so it can be understood and used.
It's almost like, he got a glimpse of the blueprint for modern computation centuries before it could even exist.
A glimpse indeed. And that leads us to, you could say, his most ambitious concept.
Okay.
Some might say audacious even.
All right, I'm intrigued.
A characteristica universalis.
Okay, now we're moving into some big idea territory.
We are.
What is this universal characteristic? I mean, break it down.
All right, imagine a language, but one that goes beyond just human speech.
Right.
Not just for talking to each other, but a language that covers everything. Knowledge, science, art.
It's like a linguistic theory of everything, almost.
In a way, yeah. But here's where it gets really interesting for us, thinking about AI. Leibniz thought this characteristica universalis, it would be something machines could understand too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're not talking about machines just crunching numbers, but machines that could grasp what we think, what we create, the meaning behind it all.
Machines that get us, basically. I mean, that's like, what, the holy grail of AI research today, isn't it? To build AI that doesn't just process data, but actually really understands it the way we do.
And that pursuit, right.
Yeah.
Bridging human language and machine comprehension, that's what drives a lot of what you hear about today, like natural language processing.
Yeah, NLT. Yeah, absolutely.
really. And
It's incredible to think just this one idea, this characteristica universalis, kind of planted the seed for a whole field that's now making headlines with AI that can, what? Write poetry and hold conversations.
Right. And just like in a good play, Leibniz didn't just set the stage. He also thought about the implications of it all. He was smart enough to realize that AI, this powerful idea, it came with its own baggage.
Of course. So he wasn't just thinking about the what, but also the why and the what ifs. And this is where I'm guessing we start to unpack those complexities.
Exactly.
And see how they connect to all the ethical debates we're having about AI today, right?
Because for all his optimism about reason, Leibniz knew we make mistakes.
Right.
And that changes everything when we start creating AI in our own image.
So where do we see that tension playing out, that human fallibility, but in the pursuit of AI? Where's the rubber meet the road?
Well, bias in AI systems is a huge concern. We've got to remember, AI learns from what we feed it. So if the data reflects our own biases,
Hmm.
the AI is going to inherit them, right?
Yeah.
And that could get amplified in how it makes decisions.
Yeah, I mean, we see those stories, right? Like algorithms for loans or even hiring that end up perpetuating inequalities because of the data they were trained on. It's a bit of a scary thought.
Yeah, and this is where another fascinating bit of Leibniz comes in. He had this concept of uh, pre-established harmony.
Okay, philosophy refresher time. Pre-established harmony. Hit me with it.
All right, so think of it like this. Leibniz thought the whole universe, it's structured in a way that there's this underlying harmony, even between things that seem totally separate. Like he even said this about the mind and body. They're distinct, but in sync.
Interesting. So how does this harmony idea, how does that play into AI and the bias problem we were just talking about?
Well, it makes you think, right? If we create AI that's really good at mimicking how we think, if we get the harmony right, but the foundation, the data it's built on is flawed,
Oh, I see.
then what? Does the AI just become a mirror to our own biases,
Oh.
even though it's trying to be logical, coherent?
It's like, are we asking if we can make AI more objective than we are? Can it escape the flaws baked into its creation?
And that's a question that gets at the heart of what it means to be human and intelligent, I think. Maybe that's why Leibniz is still so relevant. He wasn't just writing code, he was wrestling with the big stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, this was centuries before computers as we know them. It makes you wonder what else he might have glimpsed that could be useful to us now.
Well, there's his idea of possible worlds. That's a big one.
Okay, all right, now we're going full-on metaphysics.
Right.
Lay it on me. What did Leibniz think about possible worlds, and what's the connection to AI?
So he said the reality we're in, it's just one of countless possible worlds. Each one is like a different version of events, choices made, outcomes.
A multiverse of what-ifs, basically.
Exactly. And we might think our world is unique, but Leibniz said it's just one expression of all those possibilities, all connected.
So like a cosmic choose-your-own-adventure where every ending's already out there. But how does AI fit into this?
Well, imagine if AI could explore those possible worlds. Not literally, of course, but through simulations. What if AI could model different scenarios, change things up, see what happens?
Like giving AI a sneak peek into alternate realities so it can learn from way more than we ever could? Are we talking about AI predicting the future here?
Not prediction exactly, more like informed anticipation. Imagine modeling the effects of climate policies decades out.
Yeah.
Or simulating how new tech might develop, the good and the bad.
That's really something. It's like we take the scientific method testing things out, but AI can do it on a whole other level in these simulated worlds.
And here's the really interesting part. This all ties back to what Leibniz believed. He thought our world, this reality, it's the best of all possible worlds.
Whoa, hold on. That's a bold statement. How do we square that with all the, the problems, the less than ideal stuff we see every day? Yeah, I bet a few heads just exploded out there in listener land.
It's been debated for centuries, right? But for what we're talking about, here's the thing. Even if we don't get why this reality is the best, just thinking about those other options.
The what ifs.
Exactly. That can teach us something.
So instead of getting stuck on this idea of the absolute best world, maybe AI can help us understand our world better, maybe even make it better.
Right. It's not just about analyzing what is, but seeing what could be. And by doing that, maybe we appreciate our own choices more and see a path to a future we like better.
I like that. It's a different way of thinking about AI, not just problem solving, but possibility exploring.
And that brings us back to Leibniz, What's amazing about him is he was all about exploring, discovering, whether it was philosophy, math, and now we're saying AI too. Sometimes the connections you don't expect, those are the ones that really make you think.
I don't think anyone would have guessed way back then that Leibniz would have so much to say about AI now. But here we are talking about his ideas, and they're like threads in the code of everything.
It's true. It just goes to show ideas have a long life. Leibniz, with all his curiosity, he might be the patron saint of AI? Who knew?
I think he'd get a kick out of that. Probably write some long, complicated equation to explain it too.
Probably, yeah. As we keep going with AI, figuring it all out, maybe we all need a little Leibniz in us, That curiosity, that willingness to dive into the unknown, and that faith that if we use our heads, we'll find a way forward.
Couldn't agree more. So, to our listeners, keep thinking about those connections we made today. Next time AI pops up in the news, remember Leibniz. His ideas, they weren't just for dusty books, they're part of how we live now. And that's worth thinking about.
Absolutely. Keep exploring, keep asking those questions. That's what it's all about.
Well said. Until next time, keep on diving deep, everyone.